2019 is the year I pledged to play through the Castlevania franchise and record my journey through these vlogs, culminating in one big video review at the end. Welcome back to another Bloodstained Diaries. Seriously, I didn't think that there would be this much bloodstained in my Castlevania run. At first, it was supposed to be 2, but here we are with a third entry, a surprise entry that came out of nowhere it was announced in June, then in July, shadow dropped pretty quick. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 is now checked off of my list, and I'm just going to start off by saying I hate this game. I do not like this game. This is by far my least favorite game in the Bloodstained universe. And so you've got maybe Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which I really enjoyed. The first one was really good. And then you have Ritual of the Night, just a few steps below that. And then like way down is Curse of the Moon 2. So this is going to be a big hate video. So if you're a fan of it, this is what's going to be to expect. So Curse of the Moon 2 is to Castlevania. They're basically emulating what I feel is Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3. So if Curse of the Moon was emulating Castlevania, the original on the NES, this one's emulating Castlevania 3, which, for the record, if you go back to my diary on that, was also one of my least favorite Castlevania games, which I know a lot of you love it. I don't. Let me just get started by saying the main reason I do not like this game, and Castlevania 3 for that matter, is the difficulty. It is ridiculously hard. And one thing I praised in my Bloodstained Curse of the Moon diary was the fact that the game had a very nice, smooth, gradual difficulty, and it was pleasant. They got rid of that ridiculous difficulty of the old 8-bit days. And I don't know if like the general consensus from reviews was it was too easy. I mean, I did complete it in one night. But in this one, they just cranked it up to like 15 out of 10. For those who don't know, the game is very much an 8-bit platformer. It's very similar to the first one. Now there's branching paths, which is kind of an echo back to Castlevania 3. I do like the branching path. There's new characters, which we're going to talk about. It looks like the graphics have been given a little bit of an overhaul and have been improved, which I really like. I like the art style, so good job there. And then the rest is, I think you've got about 7 or 8 levels that you go through of all different themes. They're very well done. And when you complete the game, you unlock a new chapter, and there's 4 chapters to unlock, which they all make sense within the story. There's something that happens at the end of each chapter that brings you back to the beginning of the game, and you have to go through all the levels now with new characters, new abilities, so you can access things. But also the difficulty gets cranked up every time. So when I first started playing this, it was actually enjoyable. The first few levels were good, and then like around level 5 or 6, that's where you're like, okay, what are you doing here? And for the record, there are 2 difficulty modes. There's casual and there's veteran. Now, as someone who's been playing Castlevania every week of my life for the last year, I was really leaning towards veteran, which includes the main differences are you have a limited amount of lives and there's knockback, the dreaded knockback. And I was like, well, both of those things don't sound very fun. And despite me wanting to call myself a veteran for having gone through 20 Castlevania games, this doesn't appeal to me. So I went with casual. For the whole thing. I do not like knockback, and I am so glad I went casual, because even on casual, this game was ridiculously hard. And there's so many times I was doing the platform, I was like, oh, knockback would have killed me there. Knockback would have killed me there. And it would have made it that much worse. So pretty much from level 5 or 6, whatever, the lava level, the boss there is ridiculous. The knockback would just toss you into lava if I had knockback on. And then after that, it just gets even harder. So in the first game, Curse of the Moon, I remember near the end, there was this level that had like locusts that chase you up. And it's one of those like real butt clencher moments. You know what I mean? Like it makes you kind of perk up on the couch. This one, and by the way, it was kind of bullshit in the first one, but it was pretty much just a moment where you had to run up a vertical level pretty quick as the screen scrolled, and then I think you had to do it again on a horizontal scrolling level. So difficult, but I think I passed it in like 2 or 3 tries. In this one, they again notched that up even higher, where now there's a ball of locusts. I don't know what it is with locusts and Bloodstained. I think like maybe bugs are the enemies. I haven't been paying attention. And then this ball chases you from left to right to right to left, from up to down. You go in every direction with this ball, and sure, you can turn around and smack it to like say, yo, give me some space. But for the most part, it's pretty much glued to your butt the whole time. And while you're trying to get away from this ball, you have to do some platforming, and you have to take care of like 20 enemies on screen that are all doing things to you, which just gets disgustingly, absurdly just ridiculous. But when you do it and you, it's a big sense of accomplishment, but it's kind of a big bullshit moment. So, yeah, at that point, it just gets hard. And then the final boss, I have to admit, so there's 2 forms to the final boss. And the first form was a little bit hard at first, but then once you figure out the pattern, you're like, aha, I got it. The second form, I couldn't figure it out. And I looked up a video on how to do it, and I must have not looked at the right video, because even that person pretty much did it through attrition, where their loadout and healing abilities pretty much let them outlive the boss, and they got to deal more damage than the boss dealt to them before one side died. And that's how I pulled it off. I did the same thing. And then when we got back to, we started chapter 2, started level 1, I just went through level 1 and encountered the boss again, which was a fun boss in chapter 1, but now that same boss with increased difficulty in chapter 2 was disgusting. Like, I just wanted to barf everywhere when I played it, because it's not even fun at this point. There is literally a pattern that you have to memorize. You have to figure it out, memorize it, and then execute it perfectly, or you're dead. There's no room for mistake. That is not fun. That is highly precisely technical to the point where it's not fun. And some are saying, well, that's what the old Castlevania was. And granted, maybe that's what it was. And maybe I missed out on the point of the franchise and what was fun. But I do know that in my 20 game playthrough, I had moments where I felt fun, and that was not one of those moments. So for me to go and play through levels that I already felt were hard on chapter 1, to play them on an even harder mode on chapter 2, and then the whole thing gets even more disgustingly hard on chapter 3 and 4, just no thank you. I am not signing up for that level of torture and pain, and no. So yeah, it's a very hard game. Now, one thing that they did do good, I guess it kind of offsets the hard thing, is there are save points. And the save points are a welcome addition. So if you die, you can go back. And because I'm on casual, I have infinite lives. So that really does help me progress. Now, if you're not on casual, you have to actually grab bags of money, which I believe you use to buy lives or get lives in veteran mode. I did not get to experience that. And honestly, I don't miss it. Another complaint I had with Curse of the Moon, the first one, that they fixed in this one was, I pretty much said, if you lose one of your teammates, it makes it almost impossible to continue in certain parts. And so you have to pretty much jump off a cliff to kill your remaining party just to be able to restart and play the game properly. In this one, you can go to the menu and just respawn at the last save points with all of your teammates intact. So I'm glad they implemented that. That is progress. I'm glad that, they actually, it's almost like they listened to my video and they said, okay, we'll do this for Jay. Otherwise, there's a co-op mode. Bring out my list here, just making sure I covered everything. There is a co-op mode. I didn't get to try it because nobody here around me plays Castlevania, so I can't even imagine what that would be like in co-op mode. Some are saying it's fun, it's easier. Maybe it is. I can't speak to it. And then they're pretty much, oh yeah, we have to talk about the characters. So in this one, they mixed it up. So you still play as Zangetsu. You're still the cool badass with the sword. And then they add in a few more characters from Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So you have Dominique, who is the, anyway, she's like a priestess, but she has a, what do you call that? A spear. And I kind of liked her ability. She had a little bit more range with her attacks, and they even had the pogo attack from a Shovel Knight or Link's Adventure or DuckTales. Any of those games, you know what I'm talking about. You jump, you push down, attack, and then you can pogo on enemies and stuff. So that was a nice welcome new feature. They added a gunner. I forget his name, but basically he can like actually crawl on the ground. He can shoot things. And then there's a corgi in a robot suit, which was also cool. Really loved all 4 characters, and then you can unlock more characters too in the other chapters. Unfortunately, I did not. The initial 4 characters are very fun. Welcome addition. I had some complaints with characters in the first one. This one, they're all cool. I like playing all of them. They all have their like unique abilities to get through the levels. And also, this is from my own growth in this franchise. I'm using secondary weapons a lot more and abilities, and each character has certain abilities that let you hit enemies in certain directions that once you start getting very comfortable and switching between them and using them, you can do some pretty cool stuff. Like that felt rewarding to me, where I'm like, oh, I see this enemy, switch to that person, do that. Oh, I see Spikes, go into Corgi with the big mech suit and do that. Now, the problem with a gameplay system like that, of course, is when you lose any character, you're at a major disadvantage, and it really is a pain to kind of try to continue the level without them. But luckily, they have that feature where you can just respawn with everybody, and you're good to go. Little other things that they added in this game that I have to say I loved. They have a train level. I think there was one in the first one, but they have one here too. And I don't know why I'm such a sucker for train levels, but I love train levels, and they have another one in here, which I love. So thank you for continuing to put train levels in pretty much all the Bloodstained games, even though putting a train in a castle doesn't make sense, but they still do it. And then the Perma Power-Ups are back. So in Curse of the Moon, they do have this like little hint of Metroidvania where in every level you can find a perma upgrade, which either increases like your health, your magic, your attack, your defense, or even gives you a sword upgrade. And finding them and getting these unique items are quite difficult, but when you get them, it really helps you through the game. I would say they're almost required to get you through the game. I like that because it is a touch of Metroidvania. They brought it back in Curse of the Moon 2. I would say they're a lot more of a requirement. Some of these are kind of disgustingly hard to get as well. Just the whole difficulty of this just turned me off. Not the direction I thought they would have went with Curse of the Moon. But anyways, the items, they're welcome to be back. And other than that, there's not much more that they added to this game that I can really comment on that's much different. They basically took something that I loved and then put it behind a really like hard gate. And I really wish, they could have put on another mode below casual maybe that makes fun of me and calls me like baby mode. And I would have been okay playing on baby mode. I don't mind playing on baby mode if that means I get to experience the story and have some fun with it. But now the reality is, I want to be invested in the Bloodstained universe. I've played 2 games up to this point, and now this third one, which adds lore and story to the game, is pretty much gated by a difficulty. And I know I'm complaining about something that this used to be the reality back in the old days of gaming in the 90s, but I thought we had moved on beyond that, where you don't difficulty gate the lore. You always make your in modern gaming, difficulty is now optional. You go and you get your difficulty where you want, unless you're playing a Souls game. But here, if you're not good enough, you're not going to get that lore. And it really sucks because the other games are not like that. So if you play Curse of the Moon and you play Ritual of the Night, you can get the full story experience. But Curse of the Moon 2, that story is only reserved for the best of the Bloodstained players. And that just sucks. So that is why I don't like Curse of the Moon 2. If you've played it, do let me know what it is. Do let me know what you thought of it. And otherwise, I'll see you on the next Castlevania Diaries. Until then, keep it classy.